Hello, I'm Martin Lewis, founder of MoneySavingExpert.com, and the big question I'm getting right now is, with student loan interest rising to 6.1% and people looking at the statements about their student loan and seeing thousands of pounds of interest added on top, people are panicking and they want to know, should I be paying it off? Well, first of all, you can only do that if you've got the money. And my big message to you is actually, in most cases, surprisingly, jaw-droppingly, the answer is no. You shouldn't be paying it off. Because while the interest looks a lot, most people won't actually repay it. Now, this is a really complicated thing to understand, because student loans, if you went in or after 2012 in England, which is what I'm talking about, don't work the way that most people think they do. And it requires a bit of a brain change. So I'm going to run you through it briefly in the video now, but I've got a full guide that takes you through it step by step. And if you're confused, please do read that, because you need to understand it. The first point here is the price tag of student loans is totally different to the cost. The price tag is the amount you borrow plus the interest. Now, the interest changes each year, which is why it's going up in September, and it changes each year based on the rate of inflation. But the actual rate you're charged once you leave university depends on how much you earn. If you earn less than £21,000, you pay inflation at the RPI rate. If you earn more than £41,000, you pay inflation plus 3%. And if you're in the middle, it goes up in a straight line between the two. So not that many people will actually pay, certainly in the start out, the full 6.1% next year. But you know what? Even that's irrelevant. So imagine it, this is your account. You've got the amount you borrowed and you've got the interest adding on top, and that's what you get in your statement, and I understand it is really frightening. So let me give you a really practical example of why that 6.1% could be totally irrelevant and not worth comparing to savings or mortgages or anything else. Let's imagine your student loan is £55,000. And I'm going to factor out inflation and earnings increases to try and make this a really simple conceptual example, not a practical one, but it gives you the concept. If you have a salary of £36,000 a year and you earn that for the next 30 years, £36,000 is £15,000 more than £21,000. So 9% of that £15,000 is £1,350 a year. That's how much you'd repay a year on a 36 grand salary. You'd repay it for 30 years. 30 years times 1,350 is £40,500. Your loan was £55,000. You've never repaid the loan. Understood? So you've just repaid the 9% for 30 years. Now let's imagine at the same time as repaying your loan, after about 5 or 6 years, you managed to save £10,000. It's in a savings account only earning 1% interest. You're thinking, well, I may as well pay off my 6.1% loan because the interest is accruing really quickly there. Let's do the numbers again. Your loan's £55,000. You've cleared £10,000 of it. You now owe £45,000. Your salary's £36,000. So you're still repaying £1,350 a year. You're repaying it for 30 years. 30 times 1,350 is £40,500. The original loan was 55. Paying it off reduced it to 45. You've still repaid £40,500 over the 30 years. The fact that you paid £10,000 of your loan off has not saved you any money at all. Effectively, you've thrown the £10,000 away. That's the problem with using the 6.1% figure. Now, there are many other complications to this, and of course, if you are a higher earner, it probably is worth paying off that 6.1%. In my guide, I go through it in great detail. I also answer many of those other questions people ask me. What's the impact of getting a mortgage, of having an outstanding student loan? Isn't this just encouraging people not to repay their debts? Well, none of them are quite as simple as they first seem. So do have a read of the guide. But I hope by doing this video, at least it gives you a flavour of why you can't just look at 6.1%, go, I'm going to pay it off. Because it isn't always that simple.